Thanks all for joining. So my name's Lee Drew, Managing Director of Jugo Systems within the HP group. I also head up the VisiSoft side, so that's why I'm kind of presenting this introduction to VisiTickets today. We're basically going to sort of break this up into a 45-minute session, so a very top-level overview of our newest solution, and then we'll leave sort of 15-10 minutes at the end for any questions you may have. This is a very top level, so if you do have any sort of further questions, by all means, reach out to us afterwards, and we can always arrange some sort of further deep dive demos, etc. If we need to. So can everyone see the screen? If someone wouldn't mind just sticking something in the chat to make sure everyone see okay. Brilliant. Thanks, Rach. So as I mentioned, VisiTickets is the newest product in our suite of products. So this was launched originally back in September last year. It's a completely cloud-based solution, all developed in-house by our UK team. And also VisiTickets, so the online ticketing solution, is also hosted in our own UK data center. Won't go into too much details, but ultimately we manage that process start to finish, and it's maintained by our own IT teams and monitored 24/7. So VisiTickets integrates into existing solutions we have. So whether you're using one of our POS products already, or you're new to the platform as a whole, VisiTickets will integrate into our sort of stock management, warehouse management, e-commerce, EPOS on site, which can extend across retail, catering, F&B, and admissions, and everything else. So VisiTickets itself, as you see here, is our templated version of online. It's built mobile first, and it's built responsive, super quick, with kind of conversions and speed in mind. So as you flick between screens, again, I won't go into it too much. We've won what we call SPA, which is a single page application, which basically means this middle area updates as you navigate, which means it's super quick loading, especially on mobile, as now we know that sort of 80% of people are interacting and buying tickets through mobile devices. So the main benefits, obviously, of plumbing this on top of existing EPOS that we have is that you can then combine those systems together. So whether you want to offer on-site membership discount, someone can come on with a membership card and scan that at a retail till or a catering till to get a discount. That's all kind of part and parcel of the integration. And also then we can record those visits on site, tie them back to a centralized customer record, and you can then start to build a picture of your customers to see, are they spending with you on site? Are they not spending? How often are they spending? And we've got that traceability right down to individual people. So not just members. If you have a family membership, for example, we can tell you exactly of those members who is visiting. So is it mum and one of the children? Is dad potentially more likely to go into the cafe? Those sorts of things. So I'll go through the main areas with you today, and then, like I said, if we've got any questions, we can follow up after. So within the online ticketing, we have two real journeys. So we have what we call home, which is basically our main traditional categories of tickets. So this may be a category for events, a category for pre-booked tickets or memberships. There's no limit on number of categories that you have, and we call them display categories online, which means that you can present things differently to your customers, but behind the scenes you can report on them differently. And then on top of that, you can also post financially into the finance systems that we integrate into natively as well. So in terms of online, the real key areas are events. So those events themselves, for example, here, my pre-booked tickets would just be, give me 2 seconds. So within here, the events, for example, this would be your traditional booking into the park or the museum or whatever the attraction may be. And within those events, we can have different sessions. So if we just go through quickly, so I can show you that in practice. So here we can see that we have different dates with availability. We have a traffic light system to incentivize purchase, and you can control what threshold that sits at. And then we also can have all day sessions. So for example, the park or museum may open at 10 o'clock. So it's a single session. We also have time sessions. So for example, here, I can book entry into the park at these different time zones on the right-hand side. Each of these event sessions, whether it's all day or an individual session, can have individual capacities. So for example, an all-day event may have 1,000 people, or actually we could split that down and say, well, 10 o'clock has 500 capacity, 11 o'clock has 400, and 12 o'clock has 200, for example. So you can stagger the entry. And again, obviously during COVID times, that was very, very important so that everyone didn't arrive at the same time. And then when these customers are arriving on site, use our existing EPOS solution to scan those people into the attraction itself. You can also restrict those events that you see online. So for example, you can choose how far in advance they can be booked. So for example, an advance part ticket, you may want to make it more expensive when the guests arrive. So therefore you cut off, they can't buy them 24 hours online, for example. So if we go back to the categories here. So in my section here, I have two pre-booked tickets, advanced part tickets, and what we call seasonal price tickets. So tickets can have a number of events linked to a multiple number of events. So for example, you may have an adult ticket, a child ticket, etc. So we click through, we can see that here. We also accommodate things like free tickets. So if children under 90 are free of charge, for example. And then against those events, the tickets can also have minimum number of tickets assigned to them. So if you want to have things like group tickets, those can all be configured as part of this as well. So this flow is basically asking the customer to select the number of tickets they would choose, and then we present them with a calendar which says, well, these are the availability you can choose. We also support what we call date-specific pricing, which flips that the other way around. So if you want to, for example, have seasonal banded pricing, where maybe a Tuesday morning is cheaper because you have low footfall, or maybe in August, you know that bank holiday, you can increase revenue with certain events. So you might charge more expensive tickets, for example. And that's the way that the customer would approach that, is that they would choose this example here. In this case, it's now asking us to select the date we want to choose, and then dynamically, depending on which date or session I've selected, it will present me with the ticket prices we have on here as well. So from an administration point of view, it's very simple to maintain. You have one event, one range of tickets, and then multiple prices assigned to those tickets. So from a user journey point of view, it's very simplistic to be guided through the journey, depending how you configure those events. If we then go back to our home section, so we've got our pre-booked tickets, events. An event can be anything that we want to add additionally to our day at the attraction. So for example, I might want to book dinos at night here. I might want to book a behind the scenes tour. Again, each of those events have their own capacity. So for example, our guided tour may only accommodate 10 people, and I might have to book it for say 11 o'clock the next morning. And then once I've done that, we can also then restrict, can the customer change those dates and times of that booking? So which we'll move on to shortly, we have a customer portal where customers can manage their own bookings. But ultimately from here, you have control over, can the customer change certain events? So we all know that the benefits of pre-booking are that from an operational standpoint, the attraction can plan who's coming in and look at footfall to help with staffing and those sorts of things. But also you may have invested some resource. So for example, the behind the scenes tour, you may have to employ a tour guide to host that event. So you may say that behind the scenes tour, actually, you can't change once you've booked, or you maybe you can only change 7 days in advance. Obviously, the attraction itself has the ability to override those settings, but from a customer buying journey, there's a range of functions and settings in place to manage that process automatically. So we can say, well, actually, we want to plan the launch of our Santa's Grotto tickets for the 1st of November, for example, and that's when we're going to launch our tickets. We configure that all in advance, and then we set the availability. So when that date hits, the tickets instantly become available online, which again means you don't have to wake up at 3 AM and make your tickets live, for example. So we also support open tickets. So obviously there are benefits of pre-bookings we've mentioned, but if you do want to sell open tickets, those customers can buy those tickets without selecting a date or event, and they can simply redeem them as they visit. There's no need to pre-book. It's just a ticket purchase in advance. And then memberships. So memberships, we support an unlimited number of memberships and membership types. And just to touch on unlimited, that applies to all the events and tickets that we have within the system. So there's no limit on number of categories or products or anything like that at all. You can add 1,000 combinations if you wanted to. So memberships can be either individual or they can be groups, i.e. family passes, and then you can control the pricing of those, how long they last for. So for example, you have control over the time scale of those. So a pass may be only valid for 30 days. It may be an annual pass. It may always expire at the end of the current year so that your annual renewal process is contained within a smaller period rather than being sort of fluid throughout the year. And then family passes, you can restrict how many adults and children can exist on those passes. So you can create the various combinations. And then also a really powerful feature is that we can actually then decide, well, what data do we want to capture about those members as we flow through? And you can control that based on individual membership type. So if, for example, I just show you here and we flow through to the cart, And as we build the shopping cart, that cart could contain any number of items. So you could, for example, book your day tickets. I could join as a member. I could buy some retail items all in one basket without the need to do multiple transactions. And when those tickets are in the cart, they are reserved. So it's a complete live capacity across both on-site EPOS and online. So it puts a hold or reservation on any tickets I'm purchasing that are linked to a capacity. So if someone has the last ticket for an event in their basket, no one else can buy that until the little timer here has expired. So when we go through to checkout, we can also then present some upsells. So for example, here, we might want to increase advanced spend on things like souvenir guides, and each of those items can be then collected when they arrive. But we'll touch on that again shortly. When it comes through to the checkout process, the customers can either create an account or check out as a guest. If they are buying a membership, we do make it mandatory for them to create an account because there are other benefits with that, i.e. they can then manage that membership online, they can do renewals and do future bookings as well. So within here, you can obviously, the information we capture is mandatory. And for those of you that may sit within a sort of a gift aid or a museum space, the billing details we do here will then flow through to gift aid. So we, again, are making sure that data is captured that is required to support those claims. So I'm just going to log in as my account just to make the process a lot simpler. And we'll also validate the email address that's used for that sign up. So you don't get in a situation where you have multiple customer accounts, duplication of data, etc. We'll always have a CRM concept, and we'll try and tie that customer back to that email address. So if I did put in an email address that already exists, it will prompt me to sign in, or I could potentially forget my password and go from there. And we also support postcode lookup. So there's an optional integration via ideal postcodes via their API. So when we put in the address here and we search, we can select a list of options, supplies to on-site as well. And that then again ensures that we're capturing the right information for those customers, especially when it comes to gift aid claims for those charities amongst us. In terms of payment gateways, on the right-hand side here, we have credit and debit card, which is via our Pay gateway, and Apple Pay is becoming part of that later in the year, and also PayPal as an option as well. And again, it's your choice of which ones you want to choose. The benefit we've seen recently with PayPal is that they offer a sort of a split payment option. So the attraction gets paid upfront as part of the transaction, but the customer can split those payments over sort of 4 payments each month, for example, which is beneficial as ticket prices increase, or maybe your memberships are 100, 150 pounds per head, and obviously a family of 4 can become a little bit expensive. So it allows the customer to split those payments as well. But just for ease, we're just going to go through to our credit and debit card option. And again, here we have an option to email marketing sign up. And I'll go through with you shortly the branding elements and which pieces that you can maintain yourself as well. So because I've signed in before and I've logged in with my account, that's why it's pre-ticked. But again, I can unsign and manage those sign-ups myself. So I'm just going to grab some test card details just so I show the process working. And then as we go through, the customer can then put in the details for the card. And what's really key here as well is that we keep the customer within the site. So we have a direct integration with the payer, which basically means we're not shooting the customer off to a separate portal, separate page, or a pop-up, anything of that nature. We keep them on the site to keep it streamlined and ensure we get those conversions. So we go through the summary. At this point now, because I've selected memberships, it will now ask me for some data capture. As I mentioned, you can control what information you want to capture. So for example, here we have 2 passes, adult and child. So on the left here, I have to capture a name for each of the passes. That can optionally be linked to the billing address, or it can be a unique name. So I'm just going to put this in as best. And then we have optional data capture. So for example, do I want to capture date of birth? Well, maybe I won't, I'm not going to put that in. Are we going to capture a phone number, an email address? And on the right-hand side here for children, you'll notice that then we don't have an email capture. So again, there's no benefit of having an email address for a child. Why would you? So here we can, for example, say, we put in the child's details, and then also a date of birth for that child. So in here, you can set behind the scenes what age is classified as a child. And then based on the date of birth, it will then validate if that child is applicable to be a child rate. When we then continue to the summary, so I'm just going to put in here. As we go through, we'll then confirm the details that we're capturing and give the customer the opportunity to go back and edit details. So at this point, they could add additional items to the cart. They could make changes to the membership data they put in, for example. Here we can also have an optional agree to terms and conditions, which then means you can display a link here off to your current website, or we also have our own hosted terms down here, which you can put a link to so that customer can agree to that as part of the buying journey. And those are mandatory, so if I can't, it won't let me bypass unless I put that in. So we go through to terms, it will now complete the transaction. And at this point, it's gone off to the gateway, it's completed that transaction. It's now generated us a unique order reference. We then can customize the messaging that we give those customers, depending whether they've joined us as a member or whether they've just bought an event, for example. And then the customer then has got a branded email gone out to them with the logos and etc. of the attraction, which contains the barcode they need to scan when they arrive and all the information that they would need in terms of arriving time, etc. And those templates that we send are fully HTML compatible, which means that you can then customize those to your needs. So if you want to include additional terms or additional instructions, you have full control over the design and layout of those. And just to touch upon the email template side, so from our point of view, we'll send out a booking confirmation. If a customer makes a change to a booking, that gets an update information email as well. And shortly, as part of the roadmap, releasing pre-visit, so i.e. X number of days before the visit happens, they can get some customized emails based on the event they've purchased. Post-visit, so things like a TripAdvisor review, or maybe a link to a SurveyMonkey to capture some feedback, and that can be X number of days after the event and triggered only if they redeem their ticket, for example. And also membership renewals. So as a customer becomes X number of days applicable for their membership expiry date, we can trigger some additional information and communication to them as well to inform them to log into their account and renew their subscription. So within here as well, we did touch upon products. So we can list products as part of this. So any existing products we have, we can also synchronize the stock levels. So we tend to suggest that the ticketing journey is very different to a retail shop. As a ticketing journey, we're very much around getting the customer flowing through the site and buying those tickets as quickly as possible. We have an opportunity, as we saw, to present them an upsell. So for example, if I just add one of these Dinos at Nights to my cart, go through to the checkout, we can now present these upsells at this stage. This could be an event, so it could be an add-on event. So book an audio tour, for example, or book a guided tour while you're here. In my case, I've got some simple retail items. If they are added to the cart and the customer then comes to the visit to the attraction and they scan their ticket, we will then also allow them to redeem those retail items. So in effect, they can collect them on site. It will inform the user that they've got something to collect, and we can control where they can be collected on site. For example, the guidebook could be collected at admissions, but if I've pre-booked an afternoon tea that I need to redeem in the cafe, I can't redeem that at admissions. I have to go to certain outlets to actually redeem those as well. So I've obviously mentioned sort of buying journeys a fair amount so far. So key to that process also is the ability for your customers to buy a membership or potentially an annual pass and book their first visit as part of one purchase. So if we take our advanced tickets as an example, because of the configuration I have, I can either buy one-off tickets to my event, I can log in with my membership and actually book a revisit, and you can then control the pricing of those revisits. So for example, it may be free of charge, or if we look at our Dinos at Night example, it may be that actually it's a discounted ticket for members, and we handle all the validation of that when they log in, which I'll show you as well. So we've done buy tickets earlier. If we want to log in as a membership, so we choose to have a membership, and we'll now look at the account, look at all the memberships I have on my account. I've obviously got quite a few here. So I have 14 people that are applicable that I can purchase for. So if I chose 2 tickets, choose to continue, and then choose the date of visit, as we've seen before, it would also now make sure that the actual date I've selected is not beyond my expiry date of the membership. So if, for example, my membership expired tomorrow, it wouldn't let me book for the 30th. I'd have to renew first. When we go through to book tickets, at this stage now, it's added, well, those are already in the cart from before, let's get rid of those. So here, it's now added the advanced part tickets into my cart. In my case, I'm charging £1 a ticket, which is why it's charging me £2 for the 2 tickets, but it could obviously be 0, so free of charge for those members to book their visits when they come in. And then we'll move on to the ability then for them to maintain and change those booking dates as well. So if we go back and look at the other journey, so we've covered obviously buying a ticket. We've looked at saying we've got membership, let's book our revisits, or actually I want to buy a membership. So again, there's various areas which we'll move on to that you can communicate with customers the benefits of those memberships and add your own content and text. But within here as well, so this will now ask me to present a list of annual passes that are applicable. Again, you can control these texts so to meet the branding of the attraction. So here we can say, well, I want to actually buy an adult pass and a child pass. We'll go to select date. It'll then ask me to select the date, book tickets. And actually what that has done, just move the other one, is then as part of one transaction, it's added the 2 annual passes to my cart, which are memberships. And it's also let me select my first visit date, 30th of June, and charge me in this case for those tickets. But again, it could be free of charge. So now if I check out, it will capture the details needed for membership. It will book me a time slot to visit the attraction. So when I come in, I simply scan my booking confirmation. It will then redeem my time slot here, so the 30th of June, and it will then, my annual passes are active, and I can then instantly book revisits, etc. And one thing to mention around memberships is that even if I come and I sign up to a membership on site, we actually then push that data up online. So that customer can then log into that customer account online and book their revisits, renew their subscription, etc. Even if I've come into the site and bought that through a till, basically, as well. And the same for renewals. When I visit site, if my renewal is due within X number of days, it will then prompt me to say, would you like to renew? And I can do that on site as well. So it's probably a good opportunity then to go into the customer portal. So at the top here, we have an account. And again, if I'm logged out, it will just ask me to log in to the system here. So log in with my account. So once I'm in my account, I can then update my details. So this is my billing details I need and my opt-ins and outs, my email marketing at the bottom here. I can update my email address, which obviously is super important if we're going to start communicating with customers around things like membership renewals and pre and post visit communication as well. Update password as you expect, and then view orders. So within here, I've got a rather large range of orders. But once the orders sit within my account, again, very similar to an e-commerce concept, I can click into an order, and we can now see the items I've purchased on those various orders that I've done. The customer can also self-maintain and send that confirmation to them. So for example, if I've lost the email, which has my barcode to come into the attraction, I can self-service and resend that myself. If we find some tickets here that I can change the date and time, so hopefully we've got one that is relatively soon. So I might just need to create a quick transaction within date. So we're just going to go buy some tickets to visit. We'll go for 1st of July at 10 o'clock. And again, here it's adding those to my cart, but for easier, I'm just going to remove the passes that I put in. I'm going to go through to checkout. We're going to then just grab our test details again. And also here we have the option to capture data on tickets as well. So you can assign up to 10 fields that can be free text or drop-down values, and they can be mandatory or optional against each ticket. So for example here, this could be used to customize a Santa's visit. So what is the child's age, and give a list of values. What is their favorite toy? And then does anyone, for example, need a wheelchair? Not entirely sure what's there, but gives you an idea of the ideas, the questions that you can ask customers. And then we have reporting behind the scenes that allow you to drill down into that information as well. So we've then gone through to cart. And here, for those of you, again, that are in the gift aid realm, we also have a gift aid declaration, which can then be assigned to any of the ticket types. So depending on tickets I'm purchasing, we can present the gift aid declaration, and you can customize this text as well. So all the areas you see in terms of header and content, so you can really communicate your message to your customers to hopefully incentivize that gift aid. And it is a mandatory choice as well, so I have to consciously choose to opt in or out. So I'm going to put yes in this case. And then now we've completed our order. And now if we flip over now, we can see the order within the account. And the nice button here has now appeared because I've booked an event within the time zone that I can change. So obviously during COVID, this was a bit of a nightmare for lots of attractions, that the phones are ringing constantly and people are having to change bookings on behalf of customers. So now the customer can log into their account and self-service that process. So I can change the date and time. I can then choose a date. So I've booked at the top here. the 1st of July already. I might want to move that to the same day, but actually we're going to arrive a bit later, arrive at 1 o'clock. Update the booking. It's as simple as that. That's now live updated the booking. The capacity for that event has changed, so the live availability has changed. And also I've now got an email confirmation out which says this is your updated booking. This is your new time slot. It's the same barcode that we need to scan. It's just update the booking behind the scenes. Within here as well, we also have our memberships. So if I look at our memberships, these are the range of memberships that I have on my account. Obviously far too many. So here, for example, I can see the child annual pass is valid until the 10th of December this year. So therefore I have the option to renew the subscription, and you can control how many days before I want to renew. So for example, you may want to increase prices next year. So you don't want to allow people to renew more than 30 days in advance, for example. When you click renew a subscription, that then adds the membership item to the cart, as we've seen already, and allows the customer to then complete that purchase online. Again, they can buy other things at the same time, and will then extend that membership expiry date. And then obviously, but then they can't renew until that process comes around next year. So the other option we also have a slightly different type of buying journey is, so if we go very back to the very start, we have home, which are our traditional categories here that we've seen, but also we have calendar view. So calendar view is very much a plan your day, or you're going to be visiting at a certain date rather than seeing what's available. So for example, if you want to visit, you're on holiday in August and you want to see what's available to book on Saturday the 6th, because you're planning to come to Visi Park in this case, so we can show available events. And this will then show you all the various things that I can book on that date. So if an event was fully booked or wasn't available on a certain date, it wouldn't show here. So again, it allows you to guide the customer to the right place and make that journey easier, rather than going all the way through and they say, oh, no, there's no tickets now available for a specific date that we wanted to visit in here as well. So in terms of customizing the site, so you'll see here, mine's got some rather crazy colors just to hopefully highlight the areas that we can customize. So it is built on a template, but there's lots of areas that can be customized, which you can maintain yourself as well. So it's not something we need to do as a development. When we delve into the admin portal, I'll show you that process as well. So here, for example, we can see at the top, so we can change logos, we can change banner colors, we can change hover colors, we can change the text to have around home and calendar, all the imagery you see and text in categories, all the information within the footer. You can upload your own terms, privacies, etc. And again, the footer can be customized within here. When we go through to browse tickets, so things like hyperlinks can be changed. You have areas within categories that you can add text. If I go into my advanced part tickets, so because it's an event, I can add some event text. If I choose buy tickets, I can add ticket headers and ticket additional description. If I go through to the calendar page, we can have information around that specific event. So for example, here, we might want to have a separate link to a website that shows the ride maintenance, so the customer can make sure their favorite ride is available when they visit. If we go to something like, is it like tickets? What have we got here? So this one's got no information, so it's all dynamic. You can see there's nothing above the calendar. But if we go into our behind the scenes tool, we've actually now got some additional information about that event. So here we can see we're giving the information what they need to know, access and timings. In my case, I've actually embedded a little video here. So if you have a promotion video, so maybe a really big event that you launch early for next year, for example, you can give the customer information within the site. So not having to shoot off to different areas. You can keep them all on the ticketing page once you've got them there. And then obviously interact with them as you need to. On that note, just very briefly, we also do integrate into both Google Analytics and Facebook. So you can track the traffic to the site and also those conversions as well. So if you want to start looking at your return on investment for ad spend, so you've created a Facebook ad and then you convert them over to the ticketing page, that conversion will be passed back and then sit within your sort of marketing portfolio as well. So where have we got to now? So we then go into, and also these areas here that you see are HTML support, I should mention. So just because it's black, you can have that red, blue, etc. It's a very simple idea. And again, the emails we send have HTML support as part of them as well. So we now have a quick look at the admin panel. So behind the scenes, you have, again, a web-based portal where you can maintain all the things that we've been talking about so far. So within here, This is our web-based admin panel. So I can look at sales and orders, subscription to customers. I can manage my inventory. An inventory can be an event, an item, a membership. We can set up and configure the site and also maintain user access. So when we give logins, can they do things like edit customer details and those sorts of things? So everything that we change within here is live. So there's no need to run any sort of sync processes, and it is very user-friendly to see. So for example, if I went back to the site and I wanted to change the color of the footer, for example, I simply go into branding, choose colors, choose footer, select a very garish green, save, refresh the page, and it is instantly updated. And that applies to any imagery, text, and buttons that you see. So within here, you can see that you can customize the site, various areas, and really sort of match the branding you've got for the attraction. And also there's a range of fonts to select from, and also you can upload things like logos as well within here as well. So this is also where you would maintain anything like your events. So for example, if we go into events, I can see my advanced part ticket event, and this is where I can edit information. So the description, additional information, some content at the top to let me communicate further information about a certain event. And again, you can add information to these areas and update any of the imageries, which categories it sits within, and things like how long before the event do we stop selling, how long before the event can the customer make changes to their booking, and some other various options that we have for those events as well. This is also where you would maintain on any of your event sessions. So event sessions are where you have a capacity. So you can see here on the right-hand side, for example, and we have our times and dates for today. So on the right here, we've got 10 o'clock. And you can also maintain these capacities once they've created. So once we have bookings, we'll start to see what's been booked on the right-hand side here. So you can then start to plan for tomorrow, for example. So from an operational standpoint, you can say, well, actually, we've sold 500 tickets. We think we could sell another 50. Let's increase that capacity. And it's as simple as clicking, changing the capacity, save and exit. That is it. That is now updated live. So if the last ticket was sold and I now went onto the site, I can now book those additional 50 tickets, and the same walk-in and online, completely live between the two. So what we'll do now is we'll flip over to the dashboard side of things. So this is again a really strong side of the platform. So some of you may have already seen our dashboard reporting if you're using our various systems already. So I'm just going to drag this across to the screen. Just log in. So our dashboard reporting basically is a complete overview of the business, and that is all sales channels. So whether this is online tickets, it's on-site admissions, retail, catering, etc. If I can remember my password, that would be helpful. So everything we do online, potentially we've got a separate e-commerce integration with Shopify. All that information is pulled into dashboards, and we split them into various sections. And you can create different dashboards for different users. So you may have operational users you just want to give key information to. The management team might have access to all the reports. So on the left here, you have our tabs and then reports in those tabs. We generally split them down into visitors, which is footfall. So that's who's redeemed tickets. Bookings is revenue. So that's what has been booked, what's booked for future, what money we've taken in effect for those bookings. Memberships, so a breakdown of obviously our memberships. Transactions allows you to drill right down into the individual transactions, so each booking, each ticket that we sold. And again, that can support things like reporting for finance to export data and push into finance if we're not doing integration. Summary of sales across the whole business, so not just looking at ticketing, we're looking at everything across the business, which we can drill down into, product sales and stock. So in terms of visitors, we're a mixture of visual graphs and charts. So here you can see quite quickly, so if we look at today in June, we've had 45 visitors, and this time last year, potentially with a shut, we had 0. And each of the graphs that you see can be exported to PDF or as an image, so you can drop them into presentations if you need to. When we get a bit further down to grids, you'll see they'll drop straight into Excel as well. So here, if we want to say, for example, our visitors per day, we can see how many we've had over various days this year, last month, last year. So if you want to just see this year's, again, it's very dynamic. You can unclick, hover, and it will tell you the information you need quite quickly. So beneath here, so again, when those tickets have been redeemed, this will update obviously automatically as people are coming into the attraction. We can also then break that down by ticket type, so we can then see again which types of ticket are being purchased, how many are booked, and how many are redeemed. So for example, we can see here that we've got over the selected date range. So I could just select today and say I've got sorry, bad example, 100 booked and 80 redeemed. Therefore, we know that 20 of those are going to be coming in today. So again, we can plan where we are on the day and see how much other people we expect to arrive later on as well. Events redemption by membership type. This is looking at which types of event your members are purchasing. So we go back a little bit further just so we can see some info. So here, for example, we can see that of the annual passes and memberships we've sold, most commonly adults are booking the advanced park tickets. But this could be other events that you run through the year. So it could be a music festival, it could be a guided tour. Again, you can build up a demographic of which type of your members are booking those events to help with marketing and planning other events as well. So then here we've also got event redemptions. So all of our ticketing has what we call reporting categories. So again, this is where you can configure to report on data differently to how you would display it to customers. So for example, here, I've gone over a very small date range. We'll go back a bit further. So then it'll pull the data through. So here, for example, you can see that the Dino at Night pass holder ticket has not been redeemed twice over that range and the value of those redemptions as well. So you can drill right down to top level visitors, right through to individual ticket redemptions, etc. And when you see a reference to branches here, branches are outlets or sales channels. So one may be online ticketing, one may be one of the retail sites, for example. You can split that down as we go through. And then we look at bookings. So this again is more of a planning and sales revenue. So we can look at sales across the various areas of the business, and you can run comparatives. Obviously, as an attraction, we know that a February half term this year, for example, is not the same date as last year. So you can choose to run different date comparatives over different areas of the business and even by till to see your sales, and it will do a comparison against a previous period. So you might see that this year we're down by 20%, for example, versus last year. Events booked by capacity allows you to drill down further into what's booked for those events. So here, for example, we can see that on the various dates, should go on too far back, but here, for example, we can see of these advanced park tickets, we have a capacity of 2,500. We've sold none, therefore we've got a balance left to sell. And also it will tell you what is booked by your memberships and what's booked by normal purchasing of tickets. So again, the data is there to really drill down into behind the scenes and help support marketing and build up a real idea of who your visitors are and what they're doing with you on site as well. And we export into Excel here. We drop that into Excel directly, keep all the filters and allow you to manipulate if you need to. So it's a full-blown export into Excel. If we look at their memberships, so again, I won't cover every report in detail, but just to give you a very good idea. So membership summary looks at your membership as a whole. So how many of those members do we have currently in the system? How many are current? How many have expired? So we can look at our retentions and drop off of members. We can then drill down into the individual details of those members. So we can actually look at the people beneath those subscriptions. So if I put in something a bit further back. And again, there's various filters that you'll see that allow you to drill down the data further. But here, for example, if we can see the test person that we created, if we go along here, we can actually see the number of visits that I've done. So I've currently not used membership to visit. And also what we call total spend. So that's our secondary spend. So the value of the membership is £25. But actually, as we start to interact with the attraction on there, so for example, I go to the cafe, and maybe we've configured a 20% discount for memberships. And then we record that against that membership. So then it will start to build up a picture here of how much those members are actually spending with us. So are they always bringing a picnic? Do we need to try and do a separate promotion to really kind of increase that secondary spend per head for our members, or do something a bit unique as well for them? So that may be things like pre-launching event tickets to them with a hidden link directly as well, just to really increase those spends. So on the left here, we then have transactions. So again, this looks at more of a granular level. So looking at payments across the business. So how much have we taken through the online gateways? How much have we taken through PayPal? How much have we taken across various outlets on site as well? And then also here we can drill into the detail. So we understand that some attractions like to see the sort of nitty gritty behind the scenes. So this will break down each payment that's been received, which booking it relates to, who took the payment and the amounts. So again, if there was things like split payment between cash and card, all that gets broken down as well. And back to our gift aid. So for those charities amongst us, we can actually go back and look at our gift aid detail, which is all the information we've captured, which we would then export to support our gift aid claim. So this is all the information we need. Copy this across to the template from HMRC and submit that. And again, by the time it's got to this point, we know that we've captured the right information because we've made them mandatory. We've also had that declaration online. We've done a postcode lookup, so we can be pretty certain by the time it gets to this point, it's going to be a successful claim across to HMRC. And I think off the back of that, the more that attractions can do to incentivize the pre-booking process means that manual process, whether it's a membership, whether it's buying tickets or whatever it is, the customer doing that online themselves moves that burden away from the attraction to capture those data. So you haven't got someone buying a membership at the till and then it taking 15 minutes in the middle of August when you've got a queue out the door, where actually you can maybe even do an online membership discount, where if they buy that online, it may be £5 cheaper, for example, to incentivize and reduce the pressure put on the attraction staff as well. And also just very quickly on gift aid, gift aid obviously is a massive revenue stream for many charities. So here you can start to look at the uptake. So this will look at online versus on-site. So again, you can start to build a picture of, we know that the gift aid uptake in this example is 100% online, whereas actually when they visit us, we know that it's only 65%. Therefore, we really need to be pushing some marketing to get that pre-booking done online, because we've got a 25% increase in those revenues coming through as well. We've then got sales summaries, which again goes further into summarizing the business visually. So we can now see not just visitors, but on a graph, how much of our revenue we're doing this year versus last year. And it will plot that across based on the criteria we've put in. So again, I could drill that down into individual outlets, so just online, just on site, etc. as well. And likewise by day, you can then drill down into individual charts looking at revenues per day as well. And then sales analysis summary. Again, I won't go into all these now, but there's around about 50 reports now in total, which allows you to drill down into both bookings, visitors footfall, and transactions members. So everything that we allow those customers to purchase and interact with us, you can report on within dashboard centrally. So if you're already using our sort of EPOS products, for example, and you may be using dashboards, this can basically just, it's a new report set that sits on top of that and then expands the reach to include online ticketing as part of that as well. Just very quickly then, what I will do is just run through some roadmap releases that we've got coming out shortly. So just flip back to ticketing quickly, just so we can see. So I mentioned the ability to do pre and post visit emails. So that's coming out shortly before the sort of end of July. So you can configure those communications to customers automatically. We already have item emails, which again are finding really useful. So for example, if I buy a certain item, we can trigger an email based on that item purchased. So for example, I buy a ticket for a certain event, we can trigger another email with a map and some other information that they may need to be aware of. Membership renewals, obviously we've touched upon as well. That's again part of that same roadmap path by the end of July. And a big one for us is gift cards and discount codes. So currently on-site traceable gift cards is all part of our kind of EPOS solution. We're basically rewriting that to include a full omni-channel experience, so the customers can buy monetary gift cards online, they can buy gifts. So for example, it can be an item linked, so they might be buying a membership, which you can then redeem later if you're gifting that to someone. And again, those gift cards can then be used on site as well. So as part of the upsell process, we want to potentially upsell a gift card of £20 that can be preloaded. That can be part of that online checkout. So when I come to the site and I go to the cafe, I can scan my ticket. It's also got my gift card loaded on there as well, which we can use to spend. And also discount codes is a big part of that. So we're going to be configuring things like, is it off the whole transaction? Is it off certain tickets? Does it trigger in the cart automatically over certain date ranges? And again, everything we do online, we're also building into our EPOS product so that you're not restricted to online. So if that customer has a discount code, there is technically no reason they can't walk up to a till and give you the discount code and trigger it there as well. Although, as I mentioned, the more that we can push online, which is where the self-service portal really comes into its own, the better, I think, for all of the attractions. So hopefully you found that useful. I have probably rattled through that massively quickly and given a lot of information. But if there are any other questions, or you want to do more of a sort of personalized deep dive, or any specific questions, because we do have a lot of other sort of features and functions behind the scenes, We can delve into that separately after. We are going to do recordings, as I mentioned, so we can share that out as well. But are there any questions from anyone at this point that would be useful to answer from anyone at all? Just give it a minute or so if you want to chat, or you can, if I find out how to unmute everybody. No? Okay. Well, I will leave it there. Thank you very much for your time. Hopefully you found that useful. If you don't have questions, like I said, follow up with us after, and hopefully you haven't been a bit too much of information overload. But there's also information on the website as well, which kind of digests the functions and features a bit further. So thanks again for joining, and I'll hopefully speak to you all soon. Thanks, then. Bye-bye.